Hello everyone, Sister Shauna here, and I'd like to welcome you to my kitchen here on Loving the Pot. Hello everyone, let's get started. So today we are going to take a nod towards our dessert concept. We will start doing some sweet treats. So I thought I'd start us out with something relatively simple that most households eat. I'm talking pancakes, okay? So many of these ingredients you already have on hand. Why go out and buy a box of mix? Oftentimes, I'm disappointed with the instant pancake mixes out there on the shelf. So I happen to have been using this particular recipe for many years now. It works for me. It's great around Passover time to get that leavening out of your house because it uses a good bit. So I'm going to show you how to make up your own dry instant pancake mix. Now that dairy is your choice, whether it's almond milk or some form of nut milk, half and half, milk, cream, whatever suits you, you could do that. And if you're vegan, you can even attempt this recipe with light coconut milk. Coconut milk tends to make baked goods and even meats very tender and maybe a little over marinated. It'll kind of give it that texture if you leave it in that too long. So I'm suggesting a light coconut milk if you attempted this with coconut milk. So you vegans out there, give it a try. Let me know. You're not vegan. All right, so let's get started. I am coming to you with clean hands, ready to rock. I'm going to start with dry measuring cup. And I also have a set of dry measuring spoons. I also have my instant pancake mix tub. As I said, this is something that I truly do here at home often throughout the years. And as you can see, it's kind of gotten washed and the writing has bled out. But what I put on here was a label with the instructions. For every cup of the mix, add 1 large egg, 1 tablespoon of fat, whether that's melted butter or some sort of oil that's neutral in flavor, like grapeseed oil, light olive oil, not extra virgin, it's too olivey, canola oil, vegetable oil, things of that nature, even avocado oil. A half a teaspoon of vanilla flavoring if you like the little extra boost. And you can play with that. You can add maple extract, almond extract, or you can just keep it simple and put no flavoring at all. I just always do, okay? You could even do a nod to a summery type pancake and do some citrus zest in there as well. So I have my tub, I have my measuring utensils, and I also have my flour. Use some cloths. Try to have everything you need out and ready so that you know you're not missing an ingredient and you can execute. I have my flour. I'm going to tap, tap, tap with my butter knife along the top and make sure it's evenly distributed over the top. And then I'm going to make sure that I have some hangover on either side, and I'm going to give it a scrape to level off the flour. The reason we tapped it was to make sure that we knocked it down, that there weren't any air pockets in there, and we're just trying to ensure that we have a level, true 1 cup measure. We're going to add that to our container for our dry mix. To make a single batch, you need 4 cups of flour. So we will start with that. That's 1. I have a large family, so I'm going to make a double batch. So for me, it's going to be 8. So remember, if you are making a single batch recipe, just cut my recipe in half. And this is all-purpose flour. We don't want any additives in there because we're going to add our own leavening agents and salt and so on. Last one. So using the butter knife to level it off. I get the box and I pour it in an airtight container, label it with the expiration date, stating that it's also baking soda. And then it's easier for me to scoop and bake with it and make sure it stays fresh. So I'm doubling. I'm doing 4 teaspoons. tablespoons baking soda. Now with that said, as we have the baking soda here in this mix, this would make really fluffy buttermilk pancakes, because the buttermilk, with it having that acid in there, it's going to react the baking soda and create those little bubbles, which will allow it to rise a little more. It'll come out nice even without it, but you could certainly do that. I think I'm going to even add a little squeeze of lemon juice. Not enough to taste it, but just enough to activate my baking soda. So now, remember my recipe is doubled. I'm adding 6 tablespoons of baking powder. You can. Last one. How much leavening that is? That's quite a bit, so it can certainly help you at Passover time. I'm trying to get those things out of the house. It calls for 1 teaspoon of salt, but I'm gonna cut that in half because I have Himalayan pink salt and it's a higher quality, and I find that I don't need as much as regular salt. So I'm just going to do 1 teaspoon since my recipe is doubled. Remember, if you're doing a single batch because you have a small household, or you just want to try this out and you don't want to make a lot, do half of everything that I'm doing. We'll need a little bit of sugar, and we're going to do about 3 tablespoons of sugar. I'm sorry, make that 6. I keep forgetting we're doubling. Sugar is so granulated that you don't really have to go through the step of scraping the top. You can just give it a little jiggle and it'll level out. Baking is chemical and it's kind of scientific, so oftentimes if you get an ingredient wrong, it may not give you the end result you're looking for. However, this batter is very forgiving, so a little more here or there won't be a big deal. All right, so now we have our 8 cups of flour. We have 6 tablespoons of baking powder. We have 4 teaspoons of baking soda. We have our full teaspoon of salt, and we also have our 6 tablespoons of sugar. So that is literally it for our mix. I'm not going to go through the trouble of stirring it around. You could. Now, the best way to do this is just mix it with the whisk if you don't have a container with a secure lid, but I'm going to add the lid and I'm just going to shake it like crazy. This is something the kids can do. Even my 10-year-old has assisted and made the pancake mix himself for me. And remember, this is also math. We are also integrating a little bit of science. So, you know, we're actually using the things they're learning, and you can let them know, hey, math is important. You use it. All right, so a good shape. We're incorporated. Mix is done, and we can actually form our batter. Another tip to great pancakes is allowing your batter to rest. So we're going to combine our batter, add our measurements for the dry mix, and then we'll add our wet ingredients, and then we will actually let this rest for at least 5 minutes. I'll be cooking it, you know, right away after I do a couple more things, so I'm not going to put it in the fridge. But you could totally assemble your batter the night before for ease in the morning, and then your pancakes rested. They'll be even more tender because the flour will have had time to absorb the liquid and give you those nice tender pancakes. But I'm also going to give you a little trick to help with that as well. I have a large container and I have a large family, so I'm going to make a 3-cup batter. So remember, our instructions tell us that we need 1 egg for every cup. This is a dry ingredient. I'm using a dry measuring cup. I'm doing my same principle, tap, 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 scrape. 2 and 3. Okay, we'll add our eggs. So since I have 3 cups of mixed, I'm going to do 3 eggs. And these are large eggs. Be mindful that you don't get any shell. If you're not great at cracking eggs, or if your little ones are doing it, have them do it in a separate container so you can make sure you don't have any unwanted crunchy bits in your pancakes. I'm going to wash up. Be right back. Clean hands, I'm back. I also have some canola oil. I get the bulk container, it's way cheaper. Kept a wine bottle that I liked in a plastic cork, and I just refilled this. I didn't have to spend $8–10 on a cute little bottle with a spout. You know, you can just buy the spouts and stick them in it. But anyway, you know, let's be resourceful and use what we have. So I'm going to add about a tablespoon to a teaspoon of oil. Now we're moving to a liquid ingredient, so we're going to actually use a liquid measuring cup. Here's the tricky part. You do not want to do the full cup of milk. Start with about 3/4. This also depends on like the humidity levels, how dry the air is, how thin you want your pancakes. If you want them a little thinner, add more milk. I like to kind of gauge it by eye to see the consistency instead of just adding all the liquid and then I have very thin pancakes, because like I said, it could vary. I have 3 scoops of whole milk, and I'm going to start with 2 cups and eyeball the remaining amount. And yes, a liquid cup measure will give you a slightly different amount than a dry cup measure. So use the correct tool for the job. Set this to the side. I'm going to do 2 versions of our pancakes today. My youngest one likes chocolate chips in his pancakes, and I don't. So what we'll do is incorporate chocolate chips as we cook for some of them, and then the others we'll leave them out. And I may even show you how to throw together a little quick microwave chocolate ganache. Save that measuring cup since it only had milk in it. A splash of cream. This is that element I was talking about. It's going to help with those tender pancakes. That was probably about 4 tablespoons worth, and that would just give us more of that richness, that extra fat content to give us a nice tender crumb. With pancakes, and I know it feels like you must get every lump out, but you should not. You really want to get all the large lumps, but leave the smaller ones, because they will get absorbed. Remember, we're resting the batter. If you beat every last one of those lumps out, I'm pretty sure your batter's going to be overmixed. And it will thicken a little bit as it sits. And make sure you get the sides and the bottom really well. I have a lemon already cut. I'm going to add a squeeze of lemon juice like I mentioned before. I'm happy with the consistency. I do not want to add that 3rd cup of milk, so I use 2 full cups plus maybe about a 1/4 cup of heavy cream, and the consistency is there. I'm going to do this with a whisk, but I just rather not over mixing my batter. I press them out against the wall if there's a big lump here and there, but the little ones are really no big deal. And it's amazing how they just go away when you cook. I have a piece of lemon. I'm just going to give it a little squeeze. That was probably like a 1/2 teaspoon worth, just to kind of activate that baking soda. Now you could make these even airier and separate the yolks from your whites. Add the yolks only, and then beat your egg whites and fold them in, and you can have more of that Japanese style pancake. They're more like souffle like texture, you know, if you like that texture. I really don't, but you could play with it and try that. Have a friendly cooking competition with the kids and see which pancake everybody likes the best. So here we are. We have our pancake batter. We have our homemade mix with the instructions on the front. So if anybody wants to make a batch, the instructions are there. We're going to continue with our additives for our pancakes. So we're doing them 2 ways. One, I have these raspberries. They're really going kind of mushy, and I don't really want to eat them as is. But if they were macerated, they would be really nice. I have also some blueberries and blackberries. These have already been washed. We're cooking with love, so it doesn't have to be good. Add a small pinch of salt. Salt highlights all flavors. A squeeze of lemon juice. And I'm going to add a little lemon zest using my microplane. I love this tool. Gets a fine amount off without digging into the bitter pit. See? You could certainly do some citrus enhanced pancakes or citrus flavored whipped cream. Alright, so now that we have that in there, we're going to gently toss, because remember our raspberries are already mushy. And just let those marry and come together. My counter's clean. I did clean in between after dealing with those eggs, which you should also do. So now we'll sit this to the side as our pancakes are cooking and make a quick chocolate ganache sauce. This is honestly my preferred way to make chocolate ganache. It's just so much simpler. You don't have to worry about the double boiler. You don't have to worry about steam getting in your chocolate and making it bead up. If you didn't know, typically chocolate and water don't mix. You really have to manipulate the chocolate quite a bit to make them work together. Add about 1/3 cream to about 2/3 chocolate, and I'm gonna zap this in the microwave and be okay. Gave our cream and chocolate about 40 seconds in the microwave, and we're just going to slowly incorporate it until it starts to look cohesive and smooth. You cut the dairy down and add a little coconut milk. It's very rich and thick. It should get the job done. Now, since I want this to be a drizzling consistency, I'm going to add a little bit more cream. Also going to add a splash of vanilla, like literally a quarter of a cupful, and a small pinch of salt. I've preheated my large skillet to cook the pancakes. All right, so the consistency is looking good. It's smooth, and I'm just going to add a tiny piece of butter to give it some sheen. Not too much, or it will develop a skin as it sits. So see a little tiny slither. And we will sit this to the side until our pancakes are ready. We may have to zap it in the microwave for about 10-15 seconds right before we're ready to serve. We have all our components. I'll meet you over at the cooktop. All right, everybody, I'm back at the cooktop. I have my preheated skillet. This is a 14-inch. I have about a 10-inch cast iron skillet here to fry up my turkey bacon. I'm draining the extra liquid off. Remember, oil and water does not mix, so that will help with some of that popping and prevent you from burning yourself. So I'll add a little canola oil in both. That's my neutral oil of choice. I don't want my pancakes to taste like olive. The turkey bacon is fully cooked, so you're not working with a raw meat per se. However, at any point things could be contaminated, so just always be mindful. When you prepare food, you also have the potential to make someone sick, so just be careful. So I'm going to put a little pat of butter in our pancake skillet. It's not going to burn because the canola oil is in there to help it out. Move that around, and we'll add our pancake mix. I'm just going to add consistent dollops all around the pan. My skillet's on about 4. Sometimes that first round just doesn't do right, so we'll gauge it. Okay, so pancakes are frying. Now, you know your pancakes are ready. As you can see, the bubbles are starting to form. So once this whole area is mostly covered with bubbles, it's about ready to flip. And you'll also get signs around the edges. I'm not sure if you can tell. It's starting to brown, but it's very light. The edges will kind of tell you like, hey, I'm ready. Almost time to flip those. I think I'm actually gonna add a little bit more dry mix to my pancake batter. Okay, I'm back. I have put a little bit more mix into my pancake batter because I added too much milk. So I adjusted it. These things happen. So I added about maybe a third of a cup or so of dry mix. Added that in, mixed it up well, and I added another little bitty squeeze of lemon juice just to help that get tender. By the time I'm done getting my first batch of pancakes out and my turkey bacon, it will have had time to rest. Okay, the first batch of pancakes are usually the misfits, so I'm not surprised. They're not perfect, but they are still edible. They're not burnt. I still have a little bit of oil in there. I'm just going to add a little bit more butter and keep the process going until my batter's done, or until you've made enough for that day. You can certainly finish up the batter in the morning. Just put a lid on it to make sure no air can get in there so it doesn't get crusty, and you can cook the rest the next day. That looks a lot better. They're homemade pancakes, so they don't have to be perfect. Now, if you want humongous pancakes or one big pancake per person, you could do them in like a little 6-inch pan, but that's not what I'm going for. I want volume oversized. So, you see the difference now? The batter looks a lot better. It's relatively thick, and they'll be a little bit more fluffy as opposed to the first round that came out a little thin. Let's see, turkey bacon is going. They're nice, thick, big cuts, and they have great flavor. I really like the turkey bacon from the thigh meat. Bubbles are starting to form. We're almost there. And you see the edges getting a little bit golden. It's happening slowly, but that's what you look for. The bubbles on the top and the edges going golden. If it's taking too long, maybe your temperature needs to be a little higher, or if it goes too quickly, you know you need to turn the temperature down. And with our turkey bacon, I like to kind of fry them until the edges are also brown. It starts to get a little sizzly, and I want them to actually have some caramelization to them. I hate soggy turkey bacon, so I personally am going for the crispy turkey bacon with a little chew. Okay? Definitely, it's time to flip. You see those bubbles? We're ready. It's beginning. And another thing, if it's sticking, and this goes for any meat, if they're sticking, it's not ready to be turned. Once the sear is made on that, the crispy side, it will release from the pan. So that's a good way that you know it's not ready to cook. Now, it's getting close because if you notice, you have these bony bubbles, as I mentioned before. That's what you're looking for the signs of crispy bacon and the signs of cook. Foamy, and they're ready. Can you see that the turkey bacon has begun to foam? That's when we know it's ready to come out. It's foaming on both sides. I've already flipped those. Those are ready. These two here can go a little bit longer. And we'll continue with our next batch of turkey bacon. Place away from you so no hot oil splatters on you. Much better, see? Alright, just to show you where we are, I'm halfway done with my pancake batter, see? That's almost done. They're nice and consistent now. The temperature is regulated on the pan. The pancakes are really fluffy and nice. I'm finished with my crispy turkey bacon, and my young ones like patty sausages, so I added them to the same skillet, added a little water, and you can even go so far as to add a little seasoning, like a little cracked pepper, a little pinch of poultry seasoning, and a pinch of brown sugar, and let them boil to plump up. Then I'll drain the liquid out and add a tiny bit more oil and brown. Okay, everybody, about to finish up now. I've gotten the liquid out of my sausages, added a little oil, and we're close to the end of my pancake mix. So, as I promised my young one, I'm going to do a few chocolate chip pancakes. Same plain batter. And then I'll just sprinkle a few chips. If you wanted to incorporate them throughout, you could toss them in a little bit of flour, and they would be suspended in the batter. I'm doing double duty with my batter. I didn't want chocolate chip in everybody's, so we didn't do that. Remember, I also have a little ganache for them, so I don't need to add more than like 4 or 5 chips per pancake. Sausages are golden brown, looking delicious. Nearly done. The pancakes have been flipped. I'll show you the end result when we're done. I think I actually am going to whip some fresh whipped cream. I'm just going to incorporate maybe like a half a cup of cream with like a tablespoon or so of sugar and a quarter of a lid of vanilla extract, and whip it until it's fluffy. Okay, so meet you at the end. Everybody, I'm back here with our final result. We have our pancakes. They're rustic style, homemade from start to finish. Nothing spectacular and fancy, but if you want to be accurate inside, you can use a ladle. You can use a small skillet to get you those perfect pancake rounds if that's what you're looking for. Chocolate chip pancakes, this will be my kid portion, and then I have an adult portion. It's more along the size that my husband likes. I have piping bags. I'm going to use one. I have a star tip in here. Now mind you, if these pancakes are really hot, the whipped cream is going to melt right away. So you could just pipe it in a container on the side if the pancakes are still very hot when you serve. Cream will melt. This is freshly whipped cream. It tastes a lot better than the canned stuff. A little grape custard. My berry compote. Well, my macerated berries more like. Remember, we were trying to use those really soft raspberries. And this is a perfect way to do it. Or you could have made raspberry syrup. Messy, but it's alright. We were using what we have and being smart not to waste. Now we have our cooked breakfast meat as well. I'm just trying to play with it until you're pleased with the presentation. Alright, now we're going to do our kid plate. These were the chocolate chip pancakes. They're really tender. They're fluffy. They could certainly be larger if you like, but I'd rather get more quantity than size. So they have chocolate chips inside, and if you remember, we made some homemade chocolate ganache. Super easy. Get it in the microwave. And I'm not going to do this super strategic. I'm just going to give them a nice little drizzle of chocolate sauce. And they really want me to serve with this. We're having pancakes for dinner, y'all. These have cooled a little bit, so I can actually do a whipped cream batter. Give them a few grapes. It's nothing fancy and pretty about it, but it's good. So you could certainly spruce this up with some mint, some citrus slices like orange or grapefruit, whatever your kid likes, some strawberries. But here we have our little simple plate. Not too complicated. For joining me in my kitchen today. remember to like, share, subscribe. Nothing spectacular, nothing super chefy. A few tips were given today. However, get creative. Make it your own way. This is what we're eating tonight. It's quick, it's simple, and if you had your mix already made, it would be even faster. And it's definitely something fun to do with the kids. So I hope you enjoy your fluffy homemade pancakes. No need to get those box mixes with all those extra additives, preservatives, and ingredients that we can't pronounce. Just do it yourself. So I hope you enjoy. Remember to like, share, give me your comments, and I hope we were able to put a little love in your pot.